I learned at a young age how important smell was to memory and emotion. If I smell warm milk, I am sent immediately back to coming home from school on a rainy day and opening the front door and hearing my mom in the kitchen making us hot chocolate from scratch on an electric stove. The smell of the creek in Northern California is the greatest smell in the world. It is so important to me. I spent my youth playing in the creek every day. It was my place. I loved that smell so much that I tried to recreate it. I grabbed bay leaves and redwood bark and blackberries and I put them in a bucket and I added a scoop of dirt and I filled it with creek water and I put it next to my bed. And that night I smelled the creek all night and it was heaven. But the next night it started to smell like compost. And then the next night it hatched mosquitoes. I was in my high school English class and we were all reading this story by Ray Bradbury. And there was this line in there about how much he loved the smell of a lawnmower cutting fresh grass. And he said it reminded him of spring. And when I read those lines, I was filled with fear. This story is not about what happened to me when I was 9 years old. Or maybe it is. I was molested by my neighbor in a garden shed where the lawnmower and the grass clippings were kept. And whenever I smelled that smell, or even heard it suggested, I was sent straight back to being helpless. And I almost started crying in that class. But there was something in what Bradbury had written about there was the possibility you could change it. I was a teenager. I didn't know how to do that. But it made me think, maybe there's a way to replace that, to put something better in my head. I met this girl at a dance, and she was funny. And she joked with me, and I joked back, and that had never happened to me before. And I realized after a bit that we were flirting. And she had a smell. There was this tiny bit of perfume. It was so slight, I didn't know if it was on her or not. And as we were joking and laughing, I kept leaning in and trying to smell it. And I would lean in and we would laugh. And I leaned in kind of far one time. And I think she thought I was trying to kiss her because she turned and she rose her face up and she kissed me first. And I said, I really love your perfume. And she said, I'm not wearing any perfume. I don't even own any perfume. Oh, it's this sweater. I borrowed it from my sister. And we both laughed and there was a connection there. And within a week, I had my first girlfriend. And I was her first boyfriend. And she was so cool. She was a jock, an athlete, you know. She ran track and she swam and I loved that. And she was strong, you know, and she was funny and she always chewed spearmint Wrigley spearmint gum. And she always smelled just a little bit of sweat, just a teeny bit. It's not a bad smell. It's still a good smell to me. We were getting more and more serious and I realized we were going to lose our virginity to each other. And I got a little weird about thinking I was going to connect the smell of Wrigley's spearmint gum and sex the rest of my life. So I went to JCPenney's and I went to the perfume counter and I decided I would find the scent for her, you know, her scent that I could love. And I went down and I smelled every perfume and each one smelled like chemicals to me. Until I got to this one bottle. It was taller than the other bottles and older, and it smelled like fruit and flowers and innocence all at the same time. It was a familiar smell to me. And I bought the bottle and I had them gift wrap it. Now, in our hometown, everybody loses their virginity in the backseat of a car. And I did not want that. And she did not want that. But she had an idea. She was a lifeguard at this pool, and she had a key to the pool house. And she said, I have a plan. And so we went there, and when we went inside, I expected to see like a couch or a bed or something. There was just a washing machine and a dryer and a stack of white, clean towels. And I didn't know what to say, so I just gave her the gift. And she opened it and looked at the bottle, and she laughed. And she said, that's grandma perfume. And that's when I realized it was the exact perfume that my own grandmother wore. And I thought, am I a pervert? And she was laughing, and I wanted to tell her about Ray Bradbury and the grass clippings and the redwood trees and the bay trees. And I realized she wasn't laughing at me. She was laughing because she was nervous too. And she reached down and she picked up a stack of the towels and she put them in the dryer. And I said, what are you doing? They're clean already. And she turned and she said, my favorite thing in the world is towels fresh out of the dryer. And we stacked them up, and we made this giant cocoon. And we crawled inside, and we made love. It was not teenage sex. We made love in this warm ball. And after, I took her to the creek, and she smelled the redwoods, and she smelled the bay trees, and she smelled the blackberries. And she got it. She got me. Julia, wherever you are, thank you for helping me heal.